Hey everyone, it's Anthony Allen Ramos. All right, Paulie Calafiore, you definitely know from many reality series, including Big Brother, of course, but currently he just wrapped up the Challenge USA. Unfortunately, he just got eliminated in a very dramatic challenge with Johnny Bananas. But before all of that, he opened up about his sexuality for the first time during this episode. It was a really honest moment, and I'm really excited to be chatting with Paulie right now. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Anthony. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get into the challenge elimination in a minute, but listen, I was really happy to see you have that moment. You really wanted to open up and talk about your sexuality, and I think it was important. You had talked about being attracted to both men and women. So I guess it didn't get specifically defined in the episode, but you do identify as part of the queer community.
Yeah, I definitely spoke about it like at length in my confessionals. But I guess that's part of the TV business, right? Like leave it up to the allure. But yes, I am bisexual. I am sexually fluid. I feel good about finally being able to talk about this. It was hard. Like I found it easier to talk to like the producers about it, like in the confessional room and everything. And having to have that conversation in the house, with people, they're kind of strangers, right? And like I didn't have any friends like coming into the game. So like having to have conversations like with people who like I wasn't on the best terms with, coming in, it was scary. And I think a lot of people always kind of like wondered, and it was always like one of those things where it's like, we kind, like we wouldn't be shocked if like if he came out this way, or like we kind of have a feeling that like he does this, but like we don't know. But it's still like nerve wracking having to have that conversation in those circumstances, like in those walls, like in the middle of a game, so to speak, like playing for money.
Mm-hmm. What has it done for you? Because I know you in the house you mentioned that you are a totally different person. We for years have seen you on different reality shows, and there's always going to be, you're going to be known for some of those explosive moments, but you did kind of talk about how repressing this part of you for so long, obviously growing up in sports, probably led to some of that behavior. How do you feel now that you are living open and you can talk about your life freely and openly?
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. Because I remember like growing up playing sports, like you have to have this mindset. You have to almost beat your competitors, not just physically, but mentally. So you use like every edge and advantage you can get, and you almost have to like keep your cards like super close to you, because you don't want people knowing like what can get to you, like what they can say to you. And like everybody knows, like even if you listen to like NFL like mic'd up, like it could get like dirty with like what people say to each other out there. So for me, this was kind of like breaking down like all of the aspects of like what I guess would be like toxic masculinity, of like feeling like you always need to like dominate, and actually being able to open up and be like, hey, listen, actually you can dominate, but dominate through your performance, like and be open with who you are, and like, hey, listen, if this is what you are, this is what you are. Getting on TV and everything, and like being under like that microscope, like it almost made the pressure like so much heavier, because it's like in high school I played sports and I was like an absolute savage, but my high school also had the fine and performing arts program, and I hung out with all of those people, and like people were kind of like, who's this athlete that like sings Rent and like knows all the words and like can actually like dance and perform and do all these things, doesn't really care how he dresses, like he dresses how he feels. College was like the same thing, because it's like everybody's like, oh, look at this like really intense competitor, but he dresses the way he wants this. And then all of a sudden it's like I went into the real world, went on TV, and I was like, oh, let me just hold on, I'm gonna dress like, almost like metrosexual, like kind of like David Beckham was like my inspiration at that point, of like dressing with the tight pants and the tight clothes and everything. And everybody, like, I was so shocked, because it's like in high school, yeah, people would like, come at me and try and tease me and like call me gay. Why would there be something wrong with that? Why are you saying that to try and insult me? Like I almost got more angry that they were trying to use it as an insult rather than the insult itself. And I always stood up for like that, my friends and everything in high school. Like if I saw anybody in the LGBTQ community getting bullied, I didn't care if I knew them or not. I immediately stepped in and immediately it was like, yo, why do you have a problem with this person? And then going into the TV world, like it's almost like when I tried to kind of show people that side of me, it's like immediately online, it was like, like making fun of me in a way of like almost as if being gay was bad, and almost as if like, being attracted to two genders is bad. And I was sitting there being like, I'm so confused by this. Like in one breath, you're saying that I'm angry because I'm a misogynist and because I'm, like I have things wrong with my head and I'm a psych and all this stuff. But in the other breath, like you're sitting here trying to like call out my sexuality. So this was a really big moment for me because I was really scared because I'm like, how is this going to be taken by like people? But then I also had a lot of years where I was just like, I don't care. I really don't care. Like, I want to dress the way I want to dress. I want to be able to like, talk about the things that I'm into. Like everybody already knows that I'm an unconventional person when it comes to like my sexuality and when it comes to like, my relationship and everything. So this is me, and it's funny because it's like this episode is coming out, but it's like people already watched episode 1 and everybody on the internet once again is like, it's been very positive feedback, like my outfits and like my persona and everything. But then once again, like you do have the people stuck in their ways, just being like, oh, he thinks he's like this alpha male, like he looks like a douchebag, like, and I'm like, guys, like this is just me. You know what I mean? Like I'm dressing like some of my favorite rock stars that I grew up like loving and idolizing, that like really like paved the way in sexuality and like such sexual beings, but like they wore women's clothes, like some of the most iconic people like wore like all these different wardrobes. And I love that aspect of me, and I love being able to wear what I want, how I want, and not be judged by it. And also like I've really wanted to break down the walls of, hey, you could still be like such a savage like competitor, and you could be a beast, even though, I get it. I went home episode 3 and I'm very sad about that, and that eats at me inside. But, there's people who I looked up to, like Sean T, who's just like so comfortable in his skin, and he gives off such like a masculine energy, and he's so accomplished. Like there's so many professional athletes now, who are coming out, and I want to inspire more of them to come out. In order to be like, hey, listen, you could really be a beast and you can still be this. Like there is this separation. You don't have to like put up this front and be like, no, like I can't be gay and good at sports. Like, no, you can be. Like you can be. Like, how is that like the decipher of like what you can become in life?
Totally. How have the conversations been with your friends and family? I know you are in a relationship, and I would imagine, you would have to explain that, look, I'm going to be on a TV show talking about this now. Were you out and, with your friends and family, and then, just decided to do this publicly, or was it a conversation that you also had to recently have with all of them?
I didn't have to have the conversation recently, thankfully. I was able to have this conversation. It's taken very well. Like, once again, like my family, like they're Italian, like they're from New Jersey. Like it was like one of those things where it's like, yeah, we had an idea. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of taken in that capacity. And same thing, like, with my girlfriend, she's been very supportive, but I also think that's because, she also comes from that community. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think now like people are kind of looking at us where it's like, well, they've always been like, what is your relationship? Like, what do you guys do? Like, who do you bring in? Who do you, how do you decipher these things? But now I think it all kind of will be like one of those moments where everybody's like, this makes sense. Like this all makes sense for those two, and she's been great and supportive as well.
There's even, I think about where we are with our own community, and there's even people within the LGBTQ community that think that being bisexual is not a thing. They don't believe that you can possibly be attracted or, to both. What do you say to, because we are doing so much work to really just make sure that there are representations in television and beyond, just like, that of people who are bisexual. What do you say to people that don't believe that bisexuality is a thing?
Like, first of all, I'm a huge believer in like energies, and I feel like energies connect, right? So like to me, like my whole life, like I've always had this understanding of like energies, and it's like, why do you have certain energies with certain people? And like male or female, it really doesn't matter, right? Like in some people, those energies strictly go towards men. Some people strictly those energies just go towards women. And others just kind of go both ways. And that's where I'm at with it. And to me, like within the community, I mean, do we not have enough that's already kind of like, being thrown on us and like coming at us? Like, the infighting, I feel as though almost needs to stop, first of all. And like, this isn't a competition of like, like who's actually representing this. It's like, no, everything is together. It's not just like L and then G. It's like the LGBTQI plus community. Like it's the community. So like as a community, like what can we do to be better and support all of our brothers and sisters? To me, like that's those conversations, it doesn't bring us anywhere closer to where we want to be. It almost like brings us further away to where we want to be. And it really also doesn't help us merge with like, think of like the bigger picture, like everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I think that this conversation can go open. And what I'm hoping for is because a lot of people have looked at me as like this strong, alpha male, right? So it's like, on one side of things, you have a lot of people that support me because they're like, yeah, you're a strong alpha male. You speak your mind. You don't give a shit. You do whatever. And then on the other side, they're like, ooh, you're toxic, masculine, blah, 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 blah. But like now all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on a second. And I think that I want to open up that conversation where it's like, how can we bring these two opposite ends of the spectrum here and have this conversation and be like, listen, y'all, like, we're here. Like, you could still have respect for people, regardless of like who they are, where they come from, what they're doing. And let's just stop like with the constant fighting and hate and trying to outdo one another. Like, we're all on the same team and we're all trying to accomplish the same things. So how can we get closer to that rather than further apart?
Very well said. And I mean, listen, I'm so happy for you. I can tell you're in such a good spot, even though, like I said, we're bummed about the elimination, but I'm sure your challenge reality show competitions are not over for good. At some point, we'll see you again. But listen, I so appreciate the time. I think it's an important story. It really reminds me so much of what we say at GLAAD, that there are no rules to coming out. Everyone's journey is different. You do it when you feel safe, when you feel supported. And so again, really happy that you're in this really great space. And yeah, listen, let me know if you need anything, and I hope to see you in person in the future. I know you've got a lot going on, so more to come. But again, congrats, really happy for you.
No, I really appreciate that. I mean, I'd love to meet in person. And, I also just want to say, like, everybody who like paved the way to even get to this point, it's like, if we're not really coming together, it's like, what are we really giving them justice, right? Like all the things that they had to go to get to this point. Like I almost felt guilty that it's taken me this long, and I really had to change my perspective and be like, well, you know what? There might be other people that are going through this exact same thing for me, and like maybe this is what they needed to hear and what they needed to see in order to do it themselves. And maybe there's a younger version of me somewhere who gets to see this and is like, you know what? I don't have to like pretend to be this because I'm an athlete and because I'm this. Like, so if I can inspire just one person or like motivate just one person, then I feel as though I'm doing justice to like all the people who paved the way to get us to this point. And there's still a lot further to go. And I am happy to continue to be a part of that, going forward.
Well, thank you so much. Just a reminder, everyone, the Challenge USA airs Thursdays at 10 on CBS. But Paulie, good to see you. And thanks again.
Thank you, Anthony.